Hey guys, it's your old pal Alice Cooper. Basically, this is Spooktacular. So you're gonna be seeing a bunch of horror movies that have a Halloween theme to it. Look for it all this month.
Hey guys, it's me, Alice Cooper. I'm here for my review of Zombieland. So basically, Zombieland is a movie starring Jesse Eisenberg, uh, uh, Woody Harrelson as Tallahassee, and of course, Jesse Eisenberg is playing Columbus, and there's two other actors, Abigail Breslin, and this other chick. The Basically, there's four survivors of Zombieland, and it starts out with this musical number with a and it's Jesse Eisenberg with a voiceover, and he says, "Oh, America, I wish I could tell you this was still America, but there are no people here. No, my friends, this is now the United States of Zombieland." And there's this guy. He's running. He's basically it's a first-person view of this zombie, and he's eating on somebody, and he chases after the guy that's basically the first-person view, and he starts eating on him, and he burps, and then of course the Columbus says it's amazing how fast things can go from bad to total storm, and he goes, oh, that. He's been alive all this time while everyone else has turned to meat is because he abides by these rules, and it's his rules. And he says basically the first rule of surviving Zombieland is cardio. When the virus struck, for obvious reasons, the first ones to go were the fatties. For fat. And of course, the zombie catches the fat guy and eats him. And they come to this part where the next part is where Columbus wants to go to the bathroom, and he explains how this whole thing started. It started with a hamburger, that got infected hamburger when this guy eats it, and that's how it starts out in Texas. And since then, he's basically, been carrying on by himself. And so anyway, rule number two, beware of bathrooms. And this guy is in his bathroom taking a dumper, and he goes, "Can a guy take a dumper in peace?" And the freaking zombie catches him with his pants down. And the guy says, don't let him catch you with your pants down. Rule number two, beware of bathrooms. And basically, he's basically, it's Garland, Texas, and that's where the movie starts out. And he's there visiting his friends or something like that. And and he decides to go ahead and he's gonna run from the zombie that's chasing him, and he's and cardio, rule number one. And he goes, oh crap, because he drops the keys, and he has to run around some more, and basically he finally gets the keys, and finds out the door was locked the whole time. He gets in the car, and the zombie gets on the windshield, and he slams on the brakes, and well, actually, the zombie was in the back of the car. And it turns out one of the rules is check the back seat. Another one is where he's driving and he runs into a wall and drives into a wall, and the zombie goes through the windshield head first. And of course, the next rule is, of course, seat belts. And he gets out of the car, and initiates the next part where he shoots him, and then next rule is, of course, the double tap, and he explains that. He says basically don't get stingy with your bullets. Just go ahead and do another quick shot in, and he explains how this lady could have avoided being a human Happy Meal. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And and then he says on a good note that he found a place to go number two. Then a little into the movie, he's basically alone in his apartment, and he gets to this part where he's explaining that he would like to go back to his family because he never really had much of a family to begin with. And his family was in Columbus, Ohio, and hence the name Columbus. And we find out later on in the movie that I'll explain later. There's this part where he meets up, out in the highway, and he finds this dude in a suburban. What do you call it? What do you call those? A black suburban Chevrolet Cherokee. I think that's what it is. No, it's a Cadillac actually, and it's a Cadillac Eldorado. I think that's what it is, and it's got the number 3 painted on it for Dale Earnhardt. And and the guy gets out, and it turns out it's Tallahassee, and that's Woody Harrelson, and he's got this little gun, and he's pointing it at Columbus, and he goes ahead and motions for him to get in the car, and he says, "All right, thanks a lot." And he says, "Here's the deal, Columbus. I'm not easy to get along with, and I'm sensing you're a bit of a... So I'll get this partnership as far as California." Actually, he says as far as Florida. And he says, "Okay, well, take me." And he says, "You're a peppy little spit freak, aren't you?" And he says, "You should go ahead and buckle up." And he says, "I can tell already you're going to get on my nerves." And then he says that basically they come to this part where they find a freaking Hostess truck, and he says, "Take a look, it's a freaking Hostess truck." And he says, so I could really use a Twinkie." And he opens up the freaking doors of the Hostess truck, and it turns out to be Snowballs. Snowballs? Where's the freaking Twinkies? And Columbus, he grabs one and eats one, and he says, "I like Snowballs." He says, "I hate coconuts, not the taste, the consistency." He says, "This Twinkie thing, it ain't over yet." So it quickly found out that he has a weakness, and that's the Twinkies. And so basically they drive up to this grocery store, and he says that that he opens up the back, and there's these weapons in the back, and he says, "Jesus Christ, you're a dangerous man." And he's got this freaking bat with nails in it, which is freaking cool, by the way. And he goes, "There is a box of Twinkies in that grocery store. Not just any box of Twinkies. The last box of Twinkies anybody will enjoy in this whole universe. And believe it or not, Twinkies do have an expiration date." And he says, "Time to nut up or shut up." And basically, they have this part where they go into the grocery store, and they discover that a bunch of the fatties were laying on the ground dead, and he says, "Whoa, these people really let themselves go." And there's this fat guy that's obviously a zombie, and Tallahassee hands Columbus the gun, and he goes, "No, oh, hold on." and he's got this this pair of hedge clippers, and he says, "Come here, little feller. I'm gonna take a little off the top." And he says, "Gosh, these guys would let themselves go." And Columbus says, "They're so fat." And this other part where I really want to mention where the zombie is chasing after Columbus, and Tallahassee's got a bat, and he says, "Don't swing, don't swing, don't swing." And he says, and he runs past him. He says, "Oh," and he says, "Swing." And he beats up on him a few times, and they come to this to the end of the grocery store, and it turns out there's this lady, Rachel. I think her name is Rachel McAdams. Don't quote me on that. It's actually some other person. You know who I'm talking about. She was in Amazing Spider-Man. You know what I'm talking about. She says, "Come quick." And it turns out the little one, Abigail Breslin, that they pretend that she's been bitten, and they decide to go ahead and shoot her with a gun, and Tallahassee aims the gun at her, and she, the girl kisses Abigail's character goodbye, and it's actually Little Rock and this other girl. I can't remember her name. It's Little Rock and some other character. Gosh, I can't remember her name for the life of me. But she's the love interest of Columbus, obviously. And she says, "No, wait, I'll do it." She takes Tallahassee's gun, and Tallahassee says, "Is there anything we can do?" And she says, "Yeah, actually, we'll take your gun and and if you got it, sugar, let's go." And the kid grabs the other gun, and they say, and then, of course, Tallahassee, flips, gives him the double bird, and Tallahassee says to Columbus, "Nice going, genius." And he goes, "Well, you're the one that gave her the gun." And they freaking calls him an idiot, steals the guns, and drives off with the Cadillac. And obviously, what's his name is very mad about this. It's Tallahassee. And we go to this really long SUV, yellow one, and he thinks, and it turns out that there's some guns in the back, and Tallahassee's all like, "Thank God for rednecks." And he pulls out one of the guns, and he says, "This is a really big truck, and these are really big guns." And Columbus says that, "All right, just go ahead." And there's this cut off hand on the steering wheel. He takes it off, and he moves the positions the hand so the middle finger is going up, and he goes, "Nice." And he tosses the hand away. What's kind of funny, by the way. And turns out that Tallahassee spends about 5 minutes shooting off these guns, and they come to this other part where they're basically somewhere in California, and he basically takes a baseball bat, and he says, "Okay, go ahead." And he says that basically, you have to blow off whatever it is you got left, or else you lose what's left of your sanity. And he says, "I want my caddy back, you stupid." And he says, "Oh, I think I pulled something," and hence the rule, limber up. And I want to mention before with the hosted trot, there's another rule where he finally mentions the limber up, and he says, "Are you fooling me?" And he says, "No, if you're going down that hill, you should limber up." He says, "I don't believe in it. You ever see a lion limber up before he takes down a gazelle?" And on a side note, he said, "We're going to take the Browns to the Super Bowl." And he says, "Really?" That's kind of funny. So anyway, basically, the two girls, that they take the basically Columbus and Tallahassee, they take the car, and Tallahassee puts the number 3 on the side of the car because that's his new car, and it's his car now. And they drive off, and they out in the road, and they find that the black original car is parked on the side of the road, and the hood is opened up, and the girls are trying to fix it evidently, and and Tallahassee inspects the car, and he says to Columbus, it looks like they hooked it, and he says, they're back there, ain't they? And he says, no, and the little girl goes, no, just me. You got taken hostage by a 12-year-old. And he says, girls mature faster than boys. And the little girl says, 12's the new 20. So now honk it. Honk it. And turns out that the freaking and the other girl was in the hiding behind the car or something like that. And she goes, bummer. She got the shotgun still, and they spend the next 20 minutes, well, actually the next 10 minutes talking inside of the car, while driving down the road, and basically, they talk. The little girl says that Pacific Playland is basically the only place that's left that's totally zombie free, and so that's where they're going, and. So the next stop is obviously California, where they go to the house of Bill Murray. So I'm gonna get into a part here where they go into the Casa de Murray, and it's a mansion of Bill Murray's, and it's even got statues of some statues of Bill Murray, and even a portrait of Bill Murray, which is kind of cool. And Columbus says, "All right, I'm gonna tell you something about Bill Murray." And it comes to this video where they're basically in this theater room watching Ghostbusters, and he says, "This is the best part. This is the part where you find out who you're gonna call, Ghostbusters." And freaking Bill Murray comes in, and he comes into the bedroom where Tallahassee has negotiated that he's gonna take the bed. And he says, Bill Murray, you're a zombie? And freaking, and it turns out he's fine. And, he's just wearing makeup. He just wanted to blend in, And he says, I just sound Eddie Van Halen. And it's funny because the girl tells him how Margaret looks like Eddie Van Halen. And he says, he's a zombie. And, they said, and he asked Tallahassee. So Columbus is the scary one. He says he'll get him, and he goes in basically like a zombie, and freaking Columbus grabs a gun and shoots Bill Murray. And he goes, "Is that how you say hello where you're from?" And he says, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just shot Bill Murray." And he says, "Oh, that's tender. We're not going to be able to stitch this up, Bill." And freaking he dies. And and the older girl, she laughs because she says that the scene before, she says that she used to love Bill Murray, and I want to come to this. I want to talk about it some more. Where Tallahassee says, "Gosh damn it!" Excuse my language. Bill freaking Murray. And he says, "I don't mean to gush. I've seen all your movies, even your dramatic roles." And Bill Murray, he nods his head a little bit. And he says, "Thank you. You know, he doesn't say it out loud, but you know what I'm talking about. And and he says, I I love you, Bill. And he says, I've seen every one of your movies. I used to know, you know, you back when before I learned to masturbate. Not that they're connected. So basically, you know, they take Bill Murray into a body bag, and they work as a team, and they basically dump him over the side, and they have this time alone together. Columbus and the older girl, and they have this part where he talks about how the other girls at school were basically you know, they basically turned him down, and the girl says, those no, I will not stand for this. And he says, and she tells him, don't worry, Scotty's old news. That's Scotty, is her old boyfriend. And they basically almost kiss, and Tallahassee comes in there and basically, you know, interrupts, and it's okay. I like you, Columbus. I just, you know, now's not a good time. Basically, that's what she tells him. And she drives off with the truck, leaving Columbus and Tallahassee behind. And so basically, I'm gonna go ahead and accelerate to the climax of the story. It's the third act, so they're finally at Pacific Playland. They arrive there, and two girls, and then the original yellow truck, I want to say, and they have fun for a little bit, you know, on the rides, and the friggin' zombies show up, duh, and Tallahassee and Columbus, they come to save the day, and Tallahassee says, "What are you waiting for? That's your girl." And the freaking girls are on this up and down ride, and they're shooting zombies as they're going up and down. And finally, you know, they kill all the zombies that they can. And Columbus, he takes refuge inside of a little concession stand. He gets his little guns, and they have this part where you know, he's basically having a little sound out, and you have this guy that's going, oh, oh, and he kills about 15 zombies in that little concession stand, which is super awesome, by the way. And eventually, he comes into this little box, and it turns out there's Twinkies in there, and he shot him up by accident. And he says, "False advertising." And eventually, you know, Columbus has to make a decision about breaking one of his rules about being a hero, and he says, "Be a hero." Changes to being a hero, and eventually he saves the girl in Little Rock, and basically, you know, it ends basically with all four of them inside of the car, and Columbus says, and finally, you know, Little Rock tosses Tallahassee his Twinkie, and he finally gets his Twinkie, you know, after all this time. And you know, Columbus has his little Addo part where he says that Tallahassee finally got his Twinkie and everything is perfectly fine. And those little girls in those little truck are the only sad little thing is that those little girls are the only family he's got. And that's how it ends. Zombieland. I was just going ahead and mention at the beginning of it is freaking awesome because it starts out with this little musical montage with "For Whom the Bell Tolls," and as time marches on, and then na na na. For whom the bell tolls, time marches on. And for about 5 minutes, you have people basically, you know, getting attacked by zombies, which is pretty darn cool, by the way. And we had this one part where the freaking fireman is on fire, and the and then of course the logo of the Zombieland pops up, and and then it says directed by, and then finally the movie starts. So I wanted to go ahead and conclude this on a high note. Zombieland is a good movie.
Zombieland is, of course, a visit by Bruce Campbell.
So anyway, Zombieland is a great movie for Halloween. You can't have Halloween without discussing this movie, okay? This is one of the ultimate movies for Halloween. I think you can find it on television. I'm not gonna say where, but just say it starts with an F, okay? Uh, it's a good movie. You should enjoy it for Halloween. I think you can get it on DVD and Blu-ray for about $10 or $15. It's a good movie. I recommend it. So anyway, hit subscribe, watch some more videos, share and like, of course, hit thumbs up to support the channel, leave a comment below, and thank you for watching. I'll see you for my next movie review.